Good morning. In Texas, we are taking standardized testing. And I know as a professional counselor, we have a lot of kids who talk to us who struggle with anxiety about how to manage anxiety in the process of a standardized test or even just an important test that a kid has. I know that my daughter struggles a little bit with math and she sometimes has a little anxiety about taking a math test. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how to prepare your kids for that specifically. I feel like the schools are starting to do a better job of talking to you about sleep and breakfast and some of the healthy aspects of that. But I think we want to give our kids something that they can say to themselves, like, I've prepared well and I can only do as well as I can do. And I think that needs to be enough. And I think it's very important that us as parents, we send that message very clearly to them, that our expectation of them is excellent preparation and then doing their very best on the test. And their very best could vary from day to day because of the way they feel, how much sleep they've had, how confident they are in the subject matter. Those types of things all affect kids. I want to talk to you also a little bit about what questions to ask as your kids come home from a test. You know what the most common question parents ask is? How'd you do? And actually that reinforces that whole performance anxiety for a kid. A better question might be, how did you feel when you took that test? Were you confident? Did you know a lot of the answers? Were there things you wondered about? And then asking them for future reference for yourself, how could you prepare better the next time? And sometimes that's possible if they're taking a simple test where they're able to prepare. And sometimes we want to say to them quite clearly, you prepared as best you could. And especially when it comes to state standardized testing, no one really knows what's going to show up on those assessments. So it's important to let them know, this test is a little, it's not a perfect test. And I don't expect you to do perfectly on it as well. So I think it's so important that you're communicating that to them, that you are also just helping them to come up with something to say to themselves as they are taking that assessment. Whether it be, I've got this, if there's a spiritual point that your kids reference, they believe in a God, they could say, God's got this, God's got me. And have that extra confidence. I always pray for my kids in the mornings before school. I am part of a Moms in Prayer movement. We pray for their schools, we pray for their teachers, and we pray for them. And especially on testing days, I pray the night before that God would just give them a confidence that goes beyond their human understanding. And then I also pray for them just the morning of the test, that they would just be able to relax and have the confidence to know that this test, in the grand scheme of life, and even bigger, the grand scheme of eternity, matters very little. And I think that's really important. We don't want our kids blowing off things, but we're in a culture where we have two sets of kids for the most part, and they can kind of go on the gamut, but there are some kids who feel so defeated sometimes they don't care anymore, and we want to help those kids care more. But the way we're going to do that is not by making a bigger deal out of the assessment. We're going to help them care more by instilling academic confidence into them, or highlighting their other gifts and recognizing that this isn't their strong point. I love Dr. Kathy Cook's work on 8 Great Smarts that talks about the fact that all kids aren't book smart. And that's okay. There are lots of successful people in our world who were not book smart. And helping our kids feel like they're still a success, even when they're not maybe achieving everything they can in a certain area of life, is super important. We are not able to be all things to all people, and our kids won't be able to either. Some of them are going to be more athletic. Some of them are going to be more musically driven. Some of them are very socially driven, and they're going to use those skills for success later in life. And some kids are going to be intellectually and academically driven, and we want to support all kids in that process well. So asking them questions like, how did you feel about the assessment? And then really encouraging them in that. If they struggled with it, validate their struggle. And tell them that you hope the rest of the day is just relaxing, that gives them some empathy and some compassion. It's super important for us parents to do that so we can model that for them so that they will extend that to others as well. Sometimes you can let them know that it's okay that that's not their strength, and give them permission to struggle through it. And what I try to tell my kids is, I know they're going to have struggles. My daughter has broken her wrist and her elbow this week coming off a hoverboard. The orthopedic surgeon said that the hoverboard is providing him lots of business. And today was really rough. She had a hard time getting up. She had no idea how hard it would be to get dressed this morning for school. And I talked to her and prayed for her that she wouldn't not be able to do it, but she would be able to struggle well through the difficulties of today. And I told her, if you struggle well through an hour of school, if you struggle well through 2 hours of school, I'm great with that. We'll come get you. But I want you to try, and I want you to learn the value of struggling well, because that is part of our lifestyle today. I had to struggle well through changing all the appointments that I had with my own counseling clients this week, and also dealing with a child that was in a lot of pain and very grumpy and irritable, and wasn't appreciative of everything that I had sacrificed on Monday to take care of her pain and her problems. I was her emotional punching bag, and sometimes that's okay to be that and absorb that pain. And we as moms and parents and just examples and role models for kids need to struggle well for them. So anyway, I hope this helped you. If you have other questions, I used to be the academic coordinator at a middle school for standardized testing, and I really worked with both our educators and our students on having the confidence to know that they are bringing their best and their best is good enough. And really communicating that well. It actually shows that raises test scores more than putting value on an assessment itself. So if you have other questions that you would like me to answer about standardized testing, and let me tell you this, I know that most people are not appreciative of standardized testing in our schools. And we could go into that debate, and there are other places for it. So instead, what I'd like you to do is, we're probably not going to change that reality this year. So instead, what I'd like to do is help you and your kids manage that reality well. And I hope this was beneficial to you. If you are looking for me online, you can find me. You probably saw me here on Facebook Live or maybe on YouTube, but you can also find me on Instagram, and you can find me on Twitter and Pinterest. All my handles are at michellenietert.com, and my last name is spelled Nietert. I would love to interact with you there as well. I have a website that is counselorthoughts.com, and you can subscribe to our email list there. Occasionally we send out helpful hints. We are not going to flood your email box at all. But if you are looking for content regarding mental health and parenting and children, I would love to interact with you more on those subjects. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you have a great day. And if you're in Texas, I hope your kids have a great day. I know some of them are going to be bored today because they're not going to be doing much because the schools are very shut down for testing. And just be aware of that. They may be more restless tonight. I have a son who's not taking an assessment today, but is going to kind of be kept pent up in a room with a lot of kids. And he has sensory issues. So I'm going to give him a lot of downtime tonight. So just be aware of what's going on with your kids and their lives today, and try to be as empathetic and supportive of them as possible in the midst of managing your own chaos. Have a great day.